we all fucked up one way or another. Black women teach
Good morning, good morning.
Chance that desires to be kings. Don't let the world not say the natural order of love and life. You know what I'm saying? What if this work you work out, right? So we all have to know how to work together. I know I work the nerves, saying all kind of shit. Be my foundation, through it all, still smiling shit. Walking miss late nights, over childish shit. Not that you childish, just really stubborn across the fence. A free spirit felt lost some. You were judged where you from, you had a child young. You still a queen in my eyes, you had a proud son. And no life gave you what you could, you despised some. Can't replace all the hurt the world is giving you. All these half-ass fathers and what they put you through. Understand this what emotional stress can do. Cinderella,
Willie Walker has found your shoe. What up, what up? Talking about black love this morning, so we're gonna get there.
As men, we all fucked up in one way or another. Black women teach our lost souls how to chance their desires to be kings. Don't let the world not say the natural order of
Love and life.
You know what I'm saying?
We on YouTube at the same time this morning.
We all have to know how to work together.
Yeah, I know you work your nerves.
Saying all kind of shit.
You my foundation, through it all.
Smiling shit.
Arguments late nights.
Over childish shit.
Not that you childish, just really stubborn across the fence.
The free spirit felt lost some. You were judged where you from.
You had a child young. You still a queen in my eyes.
You had a proud son.
And no life gave you what you could. You still despise some. Let's go.
Replace all the hurt the world is giving you.
And all these half-ass
fathers and what they put you through. I understand this what emotions
tagging the world.
You do.
Cinderella, Willie Walker has found his shoe. Let's go. We live this morning. I'm on YouTube as well, so everybody checking in, please share the video. Black love was good, was good. So we about to get to it. Let me finish tagging the block up. If you in here on the feed, share the video for me. All right, let's get off of this. So good morning to everybody who be tapping in with me. Had a lot going on. And this morning I wanted to talk to y'all about something I seen. It was a video from Candace Owens. And she been really speaking about a lot of like the dynamics of black relationships of lately. Like I've noticed it's been something that she's kind of been on a campaign about. And I always say, like, if you remember back, if y'all been following me since the pandemic and on Facebook, that I was always talking about black love and bringing that to the forefront. And I've always been trying to express to men and women, but I've been pushing the issue to a lot of black women, especially live, about the mindset that I feel like that they carry or is being pushed to them, that I feel is going to be partially part of the destruction of our whole dynamic of relationships. Men have their own things too, so it's not me picking, it's just saying, I try to explain that it's the mindset that's going forward for, you know what I'm saying, our women that's really that's going to change so much. So we're going to chop it up. We're going to use a little bit of this Candace Owens. So the people that's with me on Facebook, I'm going to show y'all the video. All right. So let's get it. And everybody else just listen.
Crappy men in the world, right? But men are crappy.
Oh, my Facebook is geeking. All right.
Because we've created a system where manhood has become. There are crappy men in the world, right? But men are crappy because we've created a system where manhood has become obsolete. Mm-hmm. You keep increasingly telling men more and more they can't matter. When I say, who are they being told that by? You know, like I said, there's more sinister implications here of why we're making manhood obsolete. When we're saying masculinity is wrong, this is backwards. You don't need a man. You can just have a baby without a man. You're starting to see that sort of programming happening with young women, where you're telling women to act like men. You should aspire to the things that men naturally might aspire to. when you remove the more natural feeling of men being providers and women being nurturers, which is a beautiful yin and yang that just works, right? So you're creating men to feel obsolete, and then women are complaining because men aren't being men. It doesn't work that way, right? And not only that, then increasingly you're telling women to be the opposite of what I think men want. You complain about men, but are you being the type of a woman that a man would want, right?
Facts.
Self-perpetuating problem. And then you say that and they, oh my God, Candace is a horrible human being. And I'm looking at you going, I'm not a dude. I wouldn't date you.
That's deep. Let's bring it back, and then we're gonna get, and I give some.
There are crappy men in the world, right? But men are crappy because we've created a system where manhood has become obsolete. You keep increasingly telling men more and more they can't matter. When I say, who are they being told that by? There, like I said, there's more sinister implications here of why we're making manhood obsolete. When we're saying masculinity is wrong, this is backwards. You don't need a man. You can just have a baby without a man. You're starting to see that sort of programming happening with young women. When you're telling women to act like men, you should aspire to the things that men naturally might aspire to. When you remove the more natural feeling of men being providers and women being nurturers, which is a beautiful yin and yang that just works.
Right, meaning that it was something that they had done for a while that they realized that the dynamics of it worked, right? So we forget about the trial and error aspect that it went on, unless you believe that we only been around for 5,000 years, but history states that we have artifacts that states that we have been around, our people have been around for at least 50 to 100,000 years. So the things that was passed down, they was passed down because these things worked. I'm pretty sure many things were tried. But when we see, every morning I got up and I would say, you know what, when I talk to Black women, I would get in a lot of arguments because I was asking them to say, like Candace said, she said, she be talking to a homegirl, she said, and I'm not a man, but I wouldn't date you. So it's just like when I was talking to my homeboys the last couple of years, and some people close to me are people I know, and I would tell them like, yo, look at your mindset. Like, we talking business and I'm your mans. And I'm your mans and I can't get through to you, and look how you acting. And so imagine, I see why your baby mama or your wife or your girl don't fuck with you like that. See, it's the same aspect. Our women have to understand, like, I heard something the other night, last night, and I was chopping it up, and the woman told me, she was like, when it come down to competing, she was like, women, we're not going to compete. We don't want to compete. And I was like, okay, I respect that. And then she was like, but see, men, they're natural competitors. So they're supposed to compete for us. And so when she finished, I stopped and I said, okay, well, let me ask you a question. What make you think that men don't feel the same way y'all feel? Right? And my thing was saying that, men are a natural competitor, and we're tell me why you feel that way. So like, well, men, they're competitors, they're competition. Now we weren't arguing now, we was building. Men are competitors, they like to compete, you know what I'm saying? So if I go out here and they gotta compete to keep my attention and that's what men's supposed to do, because that's what a man is. And I was like, well, your dynamic of a man and your dynamic of understanding what it takes to be a woman in a relationship is off, right? Because a man, we competitive, but we don't want to be competitive with our woman. Let's be real. Now, the earth has 200,000 more women a year than men. This is fact. Everything I say online, if people know me, you can check everything I say. There's 200,000 more women born a year than men, so there's not enough Adams for every Eve. If every man marries one woman, then the population is going to decrease, and there's going to be millions of probably a billion women that won't be able to procreate. So then we got to ask ourselves, why did the universe create more women than men? And then ask ourselves, so if there's less women than men, then that means that who's really the true competitor? The women. Because that means that, not that, and that, you have to understand my logic on this. This is not me, this is nature. The women, if it's way more women than men and the man is the commodity, then the competitive nature is going to come from the women. Now, in my opinion, if the men have to compete, so the hell do the women. Or it's a double standard. It's funny how I hear a lot of women talk about double standard, but a lot of the logic is wrong. Like, I got kids by this man and I need him to be more of a provider. Your husband is a provider. Your child's father is supposed to help you raise the child and provide for the child. But if he had to provide for you, that is husband shit. And I know it come off harsh and cold, but it's the reality. And I sit here every morning, and I've been up here talking and running my fucking mouth all these mornings and doing all of this, right? And I notice that people will tend to look at me sideways, but then I look on TV and hear Candace Owens and these black politicians or celebrities say the same shit I was saying. And they go on these long ass campaign runs in the world. Fuck with them. I think that we can all be real for the people who watch me and say that a lot of these ideas that are spreading around the world, I brought these things forefront because it was something that mattered personally. Now, we just speaking on, it's a lot of stuff that if men do it, it's easy to be pointed out, well, man, it's a double standard. Well, there's a lot of double standards. And I always try to explain was, so do you realize that that's it? It puts a pressure on a man. Like when a baby when a baby comes in the picture, it go from fun to, oh, you need to do. And men providing, like she said, there was a balance where women were more nurturers and men were providing. But we need to also remember when we speak of providing, when this was established, even when the Bible or any of these, or the Quran, or any of these things were wrote, when these things were established, providing is hunting for your food, having, creating an area, safe place, building a home. That's it. Do we live in that type of society? No. Now, that's not an excuse because men can still do. But I think that women need to understand that once the child come involved and they get serious, and then the man is like, shit, I still want to have fun with you, and you get serious, you had that right because he need to get serious too because it's a life. But we need to realize the difference between a baby daddy and a husband. A lot of women out here with baby daddies but expecting husband shit, and y'all need to grow up. And a lot of men out here got women they ain't treating right, and they're expecting wife shit from their girlfriends, and they ain't their wife. So it's vice versa. But and I always say this at the end of the day, I listen, I really listen. And when I sit back and I listen to majority of all the women I know, brilliant minds, beautiful people, some of them the most brilliant people I know. But when we start talking about Black love and relationships, the dynamic and the power changes, and it's kind of like, well, he should have did more. It's like if we don't live in the same household, we have to, as a woman, and you have to understand that our dynamics can't be me providing for you fully, because I have to provide for myself. Now, if the man has a great job and he's wealthy or something like that, and that's a story. But see, I noticed that a lot of our women date these street niggas who broke. They like, y'all gave us shelter when we was broke. Y'all did all of this shit and all this extra shit. But when a baby come in the picture, now we need to be a Fortune 500 nigga. I think that something has to be addressed, right? Now, am I saying that men don't need to do? No. Am I saying that men can't do better? Yeah. But I'm saying that what's being expected in the dynamic and just from that aspect is wrong. A wife has the right to expect provision to be provided for and all these other things. But even in that scenario, the marriages that work, there's a teamwork, right? For women to think that, oh, you're a man, that's why. That's the most ignorant statement that's ever been said. And anytime a woman feels like, well, you're a man, so you're not supposed to be emotional, then what you just did, you just psychologically, emotionally oppressed that man in front of you. Or if you feel like, well, you could do something because you're a woman. But it's just funny. It's like men and women struggle with similar things. Like if a woman to get a man who's trying to help her because he sees she needs help. Like some people not control, but need to be steered in the right direction, men and women. And when you try to steer people in the right direction, sometimes you can get labeled as you trying to control them, but it's the fact that they don't want to grow up and they not mature. Now, another issue, I noticed that a lot of women, when I hear y'all complaining about men, I listen and I sit back and I be like, but when I listen to you, what type of man were you? Like, what the fuck did you go after? It's like you went after this street nigga, bottom barrel nigga, and then you expected him to change because you want him to change. Now, the deeper selection, and all the women that watch me gonna know that I can tell that I talk to a lot of women when I say this. Y'all say, oh, well, I can see his potential. Potential and talent and where they're at right now are completely different things. You see a man potential, yeah, he got the potential to be a millionaire, but right now, he only worth $10. So if he's willing to listen to you and let you nurture and allow you to show him the things that he's overlooking about himself or herself, it'll work. But majority of the time, everybody want to feel like they got the right. That's why this shit don't work. You can't. This is what I understand. And this shit be going on. How the fuck do Black people be talking about we in relationships and we talking about privacy and still having independent views? Once you create a union, how the fuck is this supposed to happen? Right? I just don't get it. Right?
Right. So you're creating men to feel obsolete, and then women are complaining because men aren't being men. It doesn't work that way.
The system has created for Black men to feel like that they're not men. The job, like women want men to understand them, but there's very little understanding coming from black women. Black men are way more trying to understanding of the black women than she is of us, because you just feel like we a man, we can figure it out. It don't matter if we got fellas, we can figure it out because we men. No, that's why we came from a mother, because we needed direction. And when we leave the coverage of our mothers and go to our women, and it's like the reason why that it can happen and we get abused because our mothers have abusive behaviors from their failures in relationships. See, nobody wants to hear the truth when I speak it, but I still yell it out loud. As a woman, you can't sit in front of me or any other man with an intellectual mind and argue with us about insight if you did not have a father. So that doesn't mean you're not intelligent. You can have a lot of great points, but remember, your learning and your foundation of you as a little girl was built off of the distrust of your father. So before you got any boyfriend or any man in the world, your father made you lose your respect for men, whether if you realize it or not. And if your father was there, and then you got the fathers who are home, and the sad part is only 25% of the fathers that's in the house are real men. Or they got kids, so they in there for the kids and they want to raise their kids, but they out there doing them because they woman always running her fucking mouth. Or vice versa. She about the family and she doing what she supposed to do, but he out here just doing the fuck he want to do because he figured that she can't do no better. Right? But nobody want to talk about this.
Right. And not only that, then increasingly you're telling women to be the opposite of what I think men want.
And then they're teaching women to be the opposite. Same shit I've been saying the whole time. A man, it's very simple. A woman want a man to respect her and be in a certain way. All she has to do is, only thing a woman has to do is show a man that she respects him and trusts him. That's the key. If we don't trust you and we can't respect you by your decision making and your attitude, every time we bring something to you, it's body language and all of this negative eye rolling shit. And then women don't want to admit it, but 85% communication is nonverbal. So all of these habits you picked up from your moms and your aunts that's not married, that shit is destroying you. And if you got a nigga and you trying to be like them, then you need to go in and be single. The truth is, yes, a lot of black women will die alone. A lot of black men will die alone. Right? But what's happening is as women, they are pushing a man's role. Your aggressiveness, that's not your nature. You don't have to be. Nurturing is your natural nature as far as the kids loving, but nurturing is deeper than just kids. That's the planet. That's the garden outside, right? That's taking care of everything. At the same time, nurturing is a business. Learning, education, all of this is strong fields. Now, men and women both go into those fields, but women dominate it. Childcare, medical. This is all a part of nurturing. Doctors, lawyers. But when we in a household where our women want to feel like, the issue is that our women want to be treated like queens and treated sweet, but don't feel like they got to be the same. They don't have to be as sweet and as loving as like that we would want. So as she say, you complain about men, but are you even the type of woman that a man would want to be that type of man? Are you that type of woman that a man would be that type of man for?
You complain about men, but are you being the type of a woman that a man would want, right? It's a self-perpetuating problem. And then you say that and they, oh my God, Candace is a horrible human being. And I'm looking at you going, I'm not a dude. I wouldn't date you.
She said, I'm not a dude. I wouldn't date you. So the dynamics, she had to play that video. So the dynamics of our relationship issues always comes down to something that we have to be real about. And it's sad because through the last 4 or 5 years I've been on live, especially in the pandemic when because everybody was home where the videos were getting the most traction. I learned from that in this last year. The deeper the conversation I go, the more I start really getting into the meat and the potatoes. That's where the issue come down. Now, am I offended that some people don't watch this? It's all about growth on their part. It's nothing about, it don't make me feel bad because at the end of the day, the lives where you really doing the most healing and understanding is the ones that I don't expect them to watch. And I'm not picking, but I just won't back off of it. I have a lot of female followers. I made some of them mad too. And I always talk to them when they see me in person. I'm not here to play nobody. But in order for us to get to a good point, somebody got to be real enough to say this shit. Like, that's why I was saying, like, I can't ask you your age. I'm not a child. I'm a grown man. I should be able to ask you your age. These are myths and things that are designed to keep us away. And I'm trying to help. I sit down with my mom, my sisters, and all the women I know. We talk. I listen. And I listen to them and I tell them, like, yo, I'm a real motherfucker. So I'm gonna tell you the shit that your brothers and your fathers should have told you. Or but I'm listening to you. So I'm gonna let you know, like, nah, but I feel you though. And I understand where you coming from. But I'm asking y'all as women, when you listen to me, don't look at me like, oh, he trying to judge us and talk down to us. Listen to me in the aspect as a man that's actually saying, like, look, when I was live the last couple of years, I had over thousands of women in my inbox saying, like, yo, I didn't even know a man like you existed. And that's my point. What make you think that only women think the way y'all think? Like, there's no men. Like, all the women don't think like a good woman. Some of them think like fucked up men. And all the men don't think like good niggas. Some of them think like fucked up women. You feel me? Or some of them think like good women. You know what I'm saying? We have to realize that the dynamics is the issue, the masculine and feminine. You know what I'm saying? If you are a masculine woman, then you have to get you a feminine type nigga. I ain't saying star, but one that he ain't into that. But you can't take that masculine logic, because if your baby daddy was not doing his job and he was soft, and you know you had men in your life that didn't stand up for you, when you get to your people, when you get to your husband and you feel like you already bring this in, you looking for all of this stuff already. But that's what I mean. Before we get in our relationships, we both come in with a whole bunch of problems and baggage from our past issues. Let me see if I'm trying to find this other video from Candace real quick, y'all. Now, when I talk Shahrazad Ali, everybody made it seem like I was talking crazy, but when I talk Shahrazad Ali and she was explaining the wrong parts of how the psychology of what's going on and what they're bringing to the table to the relationships. The society is forcing our women to think in that manner. When they look on TV, Black Panther, they move the man out the way. Even though I like the movie, everything around, we grew up in a society where our fathers wasn't around and things going on. My issue is that the women of our generation, 40 and under, have no right to feel like our mothers and our grandmothers. We are not those men. And at the same time, there's a problem too, because the girls are drug addicts, the girls are drinking, y'all bodies are the ones that's bringing life in the world. But there's a lack of self-respect for self. You know what I'm saying? Our women today are more quickly they want to be treated like queens, but sleeping around on the low. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, and as much as we want to say it, like, you know, it's the same. There's no double standard. If a man is doing the same shit, it's the same. The only difference is a man does not control who gets the sex. A woman does. So my issue I've been noticing with women and a lot of Black women is that you need to know your power. I'm tired of seeing y'all complain and whine when y'all are in control. Y'all are complaining like y'all are y'all grandmothers who had to live with these men, because y'all grandmothers, great grandmamas, the men only worked, the women couldn't get jobs. That's why they dealt with it. Now y'all getting all of the jobs and the men are struggling to get the jobs. So what the fuck is the problem? But my question to you is this. Women say, I'm not in control. Now, you're not in control because you don't know you're in control, because you don't know yourself and you don't know who you are. When I talk to Black women all the time, and the first thing I listen to them about their relationships, and in the first 30 minutes, I done heard over 100 fucking things that's like negative. Oh, well, I'm used to him when he do that, so you just made an excuse for this nigga. That's why he taking advantage of you. Or this and that, or this, you know what I'm saying? When I'm listening. But see, a lot of times as I'm learning, as my little sister told me, she said, you know why motherfuckers get mad at you? Because women really, when they hit you up or they call you because you're smart, they really just want you to listen. They don't want you to say shit. They just want you to listen. And I was like, yeah, I learned that. So I started falling back listening. But after a while, I got older and I was like, man, I ain't doing no service. I'd rather get cussed out by a woman for being honest than whether if it's 5 years, 2 years, 6 months, when she see me and she realized that I was genuine with her. If she can grow to understand that she overreacted, that's cool with me. I can forgive her. You know what I'm saying? You might not still, I mean, of course, in 5 years, the dynamic changed, but I'm willing to risk our friendship or our relationship for your benefit and your betterment of your mentality and your mind. Because that's why that old saying is you can't miss what you ain't had, or you can't miss what you ain't have, or you can't learn unless you don't learn until you lose something. These statements are thousands of years old. We be with people that's good people, but fucked up ways. And what happened? They be with us, and they be with you, or they be in a relationship, and what happens? They take advantage or misuse the person around them. They got good ways, but fucked up ways and fucked up thoughts. When they lose you or the person like you, that's how they learn. Ain't no lessons being taught in arguments and trying to understand it and explain it. And this is what we got to understand. You know what I'm saying? Hold on one second. I think I see it. Everybody in my live, see what you got. Share the video. All right, let's get it. I think I found it.
Question of the day today, kind of a weird one. Am I, Candace Owens, participating in Black on Black crime? I'll give you a hint. The answer is actually yes, and I just realized it. Plus, a 22-year-old woman has opted to get her fallopian tubes extracted from her body. Not just that, she then turned them into a piece of jewelry to tether around her neck because she's just so proud of the fact that she does not want children. All that and more.
Which is an abomination. See what I mean? Like, let's start just from this part, right? And let's shout out to Candace for being a beautiful Black woman, educated. When we all first seen Candace, because we was taught to be Democratic as kids, we looked at her sideways. She was Republican. But for the record, all the Black people in the late 1800s and the early 90s, before they took over, they were all Republicans. And the Democratic Party was the Dixiecrats when it started, and they were all white supremacists. In the 1900s and in the mid 1940s, 50s, they changed their image until they realized they was losing, so they became the people's person. And so the truth is, behind all of that shit, they're a white supremacist group. But we don't read and we don't study. Now, that's why we don't like her, because she's a Republican. Open your mind and listen. Her ideology, how she grew up, she didn't grow up in the projects in the hood, so she doesn't have to understand hood nigga politics, ignorant shit dynamic, fuck boy relativity. You feel me? She doesn't have to. And we need to stop thinking that the hood ain't the top, it's the bottom. So why the fuck are we as people glorifying the projects that was made to destroy us? But let's get to the topic. She said that this woman got her fallopian tubes taken out. See, on a deeper level, the more babies conceived without men, the more the problem are going to happen. The more problems are going to happen. Just like with the women that have real men partners and the babies are conceived without the men around, is a real problem. But when the Black woman is she has become such an object. As Black women, sometimes I ask myself, do y'all really love yourself? All of this, a BBL, a Brazilian butt lift, where you take fat out your stomach and put it in your ass. Okay, I can respect that, because at least you're using your own body to enhance your body, right? At least to that aspect, right? But at the end of the day, no woman on earth, but no Black woman, I don't give a fuck how educated you is, I don't care what you can say to me, if you do something to your body and you don't love yourself. And I know it's like, nah, I just like looking pretty. That mean that you don't think you're pretty enough. I don't care if that's why that conversation, fake nails, fake hair, got the people. It wasn't that I was trying to play you. I was trying to tell you love you. And instead, I was attacked for a week straight about, I bet you he don't date Black women. Not true. I bet you da-da-da. And that's when I showed y'all my daughter. So to kill all of that, the difference is, I'm sorry that y'all haven't had real men who have been around in the family to stand up. And a lot of men don't want to be men around a group full of masculine ass women. For what? And a lot of women don't want to be around a bunch of feminine ass men. So what's the difference? See, you can't turn that wild nigga into that soft feminine man. He doesn't want to be controlled. You go after street niggas, but street niggas rebel against order and society. So why do you think you can make him to something else? Oh, he has potential. selling drugs, nigga, shooting niggas. He got potential to be a real, all black men got potential to be a game changer of the world. But what sport is he playing?
Today on Candace Owens. I stood up for Kyrie Irving and I talked about this spiritual desire that I feel that I must stand by Black men in this moment in time. And a woman commented on it, a Black woman commented on this episode, and she said, as a Black woman in society, I wish that she would be this positive about other Black women in society. The message it sends is that only Black men who are well known for disrespecting Black women are deserving of loyalty and protection.
See, you see what I'm talking about? See, this is the ignorant ass shit I be talking about. See, this is why I say shit like, as a man, when I sit back and look at women as a whole, respectfully, I say it's a large group, right? That's on that feminism shit. That said, as a Black woman in society, I wish she had this positive. Yo, that's all the fuck we hear. Feminism is chauvinism to me. Your female quality should not supersede your relationship and your fucking children. Because a society full of Black women by themselves is a vulnerable nation. Educated, beautiful, sexy, they might be in power, but when war comes, they are fucking vulnerable. Especially if they have to fight a nation of men. Now, I'm not saying that they can't fight a war and win by themselves, but when this war get gruesome hand to hand, things are going to change, right? And to say, I wish she was, it's because Black women love to hear other Black women soup each other up, because Black women have started about 20, 30 years ago. They said, fuck men, we're not going to find solidarity or confirmation in a man, we going to give it to each other. So when I see a whole bunch of girls that's single and with kids and they always together and they've been around their whole life, I be looking at them like, look at this lesbian ass, look at this lesbianistic shit. And then when you get you a real nigga that come along, your friends like, girl, fuck him. He ain't no better than the rest of them because she done got so used to getting your time. You took her out to eat. You became her nigga, or your friend became your nigga, and now she's spoiled. And this the shit that we got to go through, right? And as women, y'all not paying attention. 85 to 95% of all women might not act on their sexual desire to be with a woman or do it, but all women are attracted to women on average, especially just in an aspect that's small as saying like when they get naked around each other and look at each other, girl, touch each other's breasts and stuff. Now that's not saying that every woman doesn't act on it or want a woman, but that's just not some shit that men do. And if you show me a rumor where men get naked together and grab each other's penis, I'm gonna tell you them niggas is gay or bisexual. It's just not going to happen. Now it says the message it sends is that only Black men who are well known for disrespecting Black women, as if Black women aren't known for disrespecting Black men. See, when Black men say some shit, it's called women bashing. But when women do the shit to men, there's no term for it. Show me a nigga who got his own crib in America, I'll be quiet, and knowing damn well over 75% of y'all got y'all shit from the county, EBT, social services. So for that statement to be made and to be laughed at shows the mindset that it's okay to degrade a Black man. So she chooses to stand with Black men because she recognized, guess what Black women produce? The Black man is a seed of the Black woman. So every time as a Black woman you disrespect Black men, you so fucking dumb that you're disrespecting yourself. The Black man comes from a Black woman. The Black man don't come from a Black man. The man's sperm determines the sex, but it just alters the DNA a little bit. So meaning what? Like I was talking to a friend the other night, and when they say, well, men supposed to, and I say, well, how is that? Why do you feel like, and I'm asking y'all, I want y'all to write on the board. Why do y'all feel like that? Why did y'all question what y'all was challenged? Clearly, it said, yeah, I fumbled on the baby dad play. I mean, we all fumble. Shit, men fumbling. Please understand, my women followers, that I just don't waste my time coming up here on average talking about men issues, because that shit we can just turn on any station, any TV, we're gonna see that. I'm saying to Black women, you are accountable. The egg, all the eggs on planet Earth are female eggs. So if a man's sperm can alter it and make it male, then understand this. When women say, well, he's a man, that's why he's a man. He's supposed to figure it out. He's supposed to figure out. But my foundation is a woman. The same egg that made a little girl made a little boy. Do y'all hear me? So to disrespect a black man is disrespecting a black woman, because a black man is a woman at her highest form. It is all of her anger, all of her strength, all compressed into a man. Her fallopian tubes fall out. Her fallopian tubes pop outward and become testicles. And every section of your body that develops a baby pops outward and becomes the man's penis. Why do you think the sex change can be performed? Because all they have to do is reverse it, rather pull it in or push it out, and do a couple alternates. The penis and everything in the vagina is very similar. %98 similar. It says, yo, take her tubes. He said, I tied them around her neck. Yeah, she down. Yeah, talking my Palestinian boy the other day. That shit, this shit, and they coach it and running through their homes. And I also said that, see where we going today? I mentioned this the other day. Where we going today in this shit? I started asking the men from Iraq and Saudi Arabia, like, why they don't want their women to read and write. And they was like, that ideology came from women being in power and what happened. See, you remember in Thor, see, let me tell you about history they be giving us in these fucking movies. Y'all remember in Thor and Ragnarok, the last one, he told Thor, his father, really your sister was born first. Really the woman came first. And she was better than you and all of the men at war. But the problem is she loved turmoil and war. So she just wanted to conquer shit just because. And that's why men took women off of the thrones. There's a historical value. A woman is the ruler. And let's say a husband goes to another empire. Her anger, nothing like a woman's wrath. She'll go kill all the women and children in the empire that stole her man. She has a whole empire. Y'all think I'm lying? Go study any culture in Egypt, Samaria, America, Mayan, Göbekli Tepe, anywhere. Study any ancient civilization, and you will see that if you dig back further enough, there was an issue with why the women gave it. And that's why I keep giving a dynamic. Y'all gonna hear me one day. Our dynamics in a relationship is a woman is born with power. And a lot of people say, where you get this from? This is within. This came from my DNA. A woman is born with power. When you a little girl, you walk around and niggas be tripping over, fumbling and shit, trying to give you their candy since you 2, 3, 4, 5. A man is born with love. See, we got such love, we ride and we die for our niggas. That's a different type of love. Women don't possess that love that niggas be riding in the street dying for their homies. When niggas lose their homeboys and that love, women get jealous over that love because women see that men give their love to their niggas. The same way that we see women give their love to their girls. But what happens is that when you become a union, and marriage is anybody you have a child with, we need to read. Joseph and Mary were married because they had Jesus. Marriage is any man that a woman has a child by. If you have 3 baby daddies, you have 3 husbands. So then by the old ideology, that would make sense for a man to have to take care of you, the house, the children, and all his wives. See, the things that we're complaining about in our culture, that's why I say it's really a cry against nature and God. It's not black man who did this. The creator did this. The man can't sleep with 3 women and get all them pregnant. There's not enough men. That's why I hear people speak on a lot of things like, well, we can't talk about science and all of that. You're just regurgitating what you heard because you haven't thought for yourself yet.
This comment was from Ms. HW. And when I saw it, I have to first say that kind of saddened me a little bit. Like I had to really sit there and consider that comment a lot. I thought to myself, am I actually sending out a signal that Black women don't matter? Which is obviously very ironic because I am a Black woman. And I really started to think about all of my past commentary. I do comment not just on Black women, but women in general, wider. I actually said, like, how many times do I use my platform to defend women? And it was kind of hard to me to come up with many examples. Like, I mean, obviously, I did defend Nicki Minaj when she was speaking out against not wanting to get the vaccines, and the whole media came down and crushed her. And I felt like that was not just. But in general, when I do cover women, I am harsh in my critiques. I often cover Madonna, I cover Emily Ratajkowski. And the reason I go after them is because I do believe that these women, for example, Cardi B, are contributing to the corrosion of society. And
see, it's funny that when I watch stuff like this and I say, I'm a Black man and I get attacked, but it's such a ruthless game because this is what we mean when men say, and when we say the problem in our culture is Black women lack of accountability. We'll get mad at people like me and nobody want to click and watch this feed, or he woman bashing. Grow the fuck up. That's why I don't know man wants you. And for all the men who are childish and don't do, you need to grow the fuck up. That's why none of the women want you. There's a lack of growth and maturity in our community. A lot of the 30-year-old girls and the 40-year-old men and the 50-year-old women and men act like 20-year-olds. We are the byproducts of failed relationships. And then we learn our relationship dynamics from failures. Respectfully. If your mama was a single who stayed single her whole life, that means that she never learned how to be a team player. And then the thing I be asking women when I talk to them in the groups, let me ask you a question. How many of y'all played fucking sports? I know. I go to gym class in many states growing up, and women failed gym just from being lazy. So if you never played sports, what qualifies you to understand the team dynamic? Just like I be telling street niggas, and on his music, a lot of niggas got opinions, and I tell them like, yo, first of all, street niggas don't come from sports background, majority of them. So that's why niggas be playing for self. If more street niggas played basketball and football, their organizations would work better. Right? So when I look at this and see Candace getting attacked by it, it's just me saying, you rather attack the people speaking the truth, but because you don't want to hear us talk about Cardi B has turned all of the Black girls and all the Black women to strippers. Don't get mad at me because when I speak, I say the Black woman is a whore. I see the Black woman supports the whores. Don't get mad at me. If I'm a Black man, so if I feel that way and I love Black women, then imagine how the fuck white men and other cultures see you. That's why they want to fuck you. They don't respect you. The white man, Indian man, they want to bend you over and fuck you because that's all you showing us. That's all that. When they watch TV, they don't see the educated woman. They don't see this. They see something else. When at the end of the day, what's sexy is at the end of the day, I'm not impressed by half of the women because at the end of the day, it's a lot of beautiful women I see. But if I get to see everything you got, then so do everybody else. Sexiness is what make a woman sexy is when a nigga can't have you. You can't sit here and fuck 25, 30 niggas, and even if nobody knows, expect a man to honor you like a woman who has, had 3, 4 partners. I know we get older, we got to be real. Or if she's 40 and she's been in 10 real relationships, okay, I get it. That don't make you a whore, but it just shows how we're using dating as a tool of everybody niggas date, everybody has sex with. So it's nothing. So by the time you find a man that love you, what can you give me? What can you give me that you ain't gave another man? You got children already. You've had sex already. You gave oral already. You've had anal already. What can you give me? You don't even want to give me you all the way, because I ask women all the time, and I want all the women who watching me and throughout this, from whether it's today, tomorrow, later, please, if you don't answer nothing else, answer this. Why have you lost respect for Black men? And why has your bad experiences with the men you chose, just like I tell my homeboys, the women they chose, how does that dictate all of us? You never thought that maybe you keep looking for your man in the same fucked up area. Stop looking for these niggas who dress like rappers. And I'm not degrading shit because I dress like a motherfucking rapper. At the end of the day, I got a brain. But at the end of the day, when y'all meeting these niggas, y'all not talking about family and life and da-da-da. Y'all sitting around these niggas in the trap. Y'all just happy to be around them because I think they're attractive and they got a little money. So from the beginning, you didn't come in here talking that shit. So why the fuck do y'all think that they got to respect when now that you decide that you want to be, we got kids now and I'm ready to change, don't mean he ready to change. He might want to still sell his drugs. He might want to still do what he do. That's why the dynamic don't work. When you met these niggas, y'all won't sitting there reading and studying and on those shit together. So that's why I said, end of the day, black women miss me with that shit. Y'all going to get y'all men from the bottom barrel society because y'all going after the money. Oh, he ain't a man if he can't provide. He didn't say providing this is not supposed to be a financially based thing. But they're attacking. And my whole point before I go back is to say, why attack and get mad at me or Candace Owens for talking about Cardi B and all of these whores? Right? The music is teaching. Yesterday, my law was talking about Lupe, and he said that when he was in MIT teaching a class, and he said music and how many artists are using it for what it was actually made for, a message. And it's a structure, just like structuring a paper. How many people are using the structure properly? So our rappers aren't using it. They're not paying attention. They just talking shit, making good music. But the people who run the music industry the engineers are putting it in format. So the music is still passing messages, just nothing that's of value or good to us. I listen to that shit. Y'all feel me? Like, I'm not down to earth. People, you know me, I listen to it. Just like I had people tell me recently, like, man, I love your album. But it's like when people come to me and be like, man, I love your combos. Why your albums ain't like that? Y'all can miss me with that shit. I gave niggas albums at the album and me talking that knowledge shit completely. And did them shit sell? And did them shit, no disrespect, because knowledge is something that's free. I can't charge you for giving you something that's rightfully yours. So I said, I'm going to still give that pure music, but at the same time, music is a business. So I'm going to also be responsible for what I'm giving to people. Also be aware also that music is a place that people want to dance, vibe, experience. And there's other ways to pass my message other than being straight. So that's why my man Mage is like, man, I wish a motherfucker would say something to you right now because you gave 15 years of your life to that shit and people walked past it and they didn't champion it because the truth is our people want destruction. They want the shit that's going to destroy them. They want pork mentally. You feel me?
And so this commenter is correct to feel that I am neglecting really all women in a lot of my analyses, and I don't use enough of my platform to talk about women that are providing good examples. And I think that there's an element that I guess really about our culture that is so disturbing to me, and that I feel that the only way that our culture is going to get back on track is for women to stop believing that they need to rinse themselves of their womanhood and their femininity. So that's one element of it. The other thing is that women in general aren't very nice to each other. It's not just Candace, it's women.
I also heard Candace say the other day that she said on an interview, she said, I keep hearing this toxic masculinity bullshit, right? She said, my grandfather, see, that's what I mean. I'm a man. Whether if you like it or not, I'm going to raise my voice. And I'm going to stand on certain shit, and you can't change that. That's my right by nature and God. That's why the tone of my voice. The science says when a baby from the time it's born, even until it's an adult, but especially in the child developmental phase, that when a child hears a man's voice, they shake and they stop because of the tone of his voice. That's our right by nature. That's why King T'Challa said, I am your king. And the fact that you think that we don't have a fucking right to yell at you is disturbing to me. But you can yell at us all fucking day and be emotional. No, that's a double standard. But she said her grandfather and her family, like everybody was afraid of him. You know what I'm saying? She said that everybody was scared. Like as far as when you went to his house, he had rules. You didn't play with him. He'd tell your ass da. And she said that gave her a healthy fear of a black man. So because she had a grandfather or a strong black man experience in her family, like I said, where everybody want to argue with me, a girl that grows up in a house, whether if it's her father or grandfather, she has to see a masculine male. But it's different when it's her father. Now, if her grandfather is like a father, because kids grow up with their grandfather, or the grandfather's the one that's doing like fathers, then that's a similar role. Because he is around. But grandpa that lives in another state that you see once in a blue, you can't say that. But if she didn't, that's the reason why she's standing up for black men, because she realized that the black man that she loves and respects and held her family together would be an abomination to a woman today. And she would not be here. Our job as men is to tell women, you foolish. That's why the serpent went to you. The serpent went to you because you can be manipulated. Why didn't the serpent just go to Adam? Because we would have told him, take your way, go slide back across the field. I'm not impressed by you. I don't like things that look like penises, and a snake look like a penis. So when a snake rose up, she probably, and not being funny. We're not attracted. We're mentally. That's why everything is a soda bottle, is a hot dog. Your fingernail, the top of the bottle. Everything. Jars. When you open a jar, it becomes a woman. Because you penetrated to put things in it. The pencil. The masculine and feminine principle has to stay alive. If not, everything dies. And I argue with black women because I say, listen to me. Show me an animal that's arguing about its role in nature. The black woman. And we are animals, and I'm tired of us. We are part of the mammal family. So I need us to stop thinking that we are above them. And to be quite frank with you, we got some fucking nerves, and their families, their houses are being destroyed when we build on it. Their communities are being affected. They're being enslaved in zoos. They're being taken away from their family members. But they still keep their structure. And they're not fighting over this shit. And they'll still kill you for each other.
Women in general are just not that nice to each other. I always say the movie Mean Girls is kind of real life. You know what I'm saying? And a part of this is biological. There's an underpinning of biology. I've often spoke about a book that I read, which was written by an author named E.O. Wilson, who is a biologist and who basically underpins, he has this thesis that everything that we do in society and the way that we behave in society, you really just have to examine our biology, and you can look to examples in the wild to fully understand why we behave in that manner, right? So
thank you. Everybody who watched my lives and everybody who questioned everything I've ever fucking said. Thank you, Candace. I've never seen this video. You can, if you pay attention, when I say a black woman come to me or a man say ain't no rules to parenting, yes it is. Go study all the mammals and stop making fucking excuses. Because all the mammals breastfeed. And all the men, go study the males. And you're going to realize that this shit is so complex. Our ancestors looked at animals and nature and studied the principles and then mimicked it because the animals are older than us.
So why are women a bit cattier with one another than men are, right? Men are kind of, they hang out, they're totally fine, but women are a bit more competitive and a bit more catty. And the argument that he puts forth in this book is that, well, women have to compete and they have to compete for men. And we speak about our biology, women have 400 eggs, that's it. We are born with all the eggs we're ever going to have.
That's another point if you've been watching me from earlier. When I said earlier in the conversation that my homegirl tell me that men are supposed to compete for women because men are competitive by nature. And then I stopped her. See, and I say this all the time. I feel like eventually people will see how unique my mind really is off of just being open. It's not about being smart or trying to prove I'm smart. It's the fact that I submit to the universe and to nature. I accept the truth, regardless if it's female or male. My answer does not have to fit what I originally went for. If I went to study to prove that the black man was this and it realized that she is, then that's what I'm gonna tell the people. And the answer is she is. So I don't waste my time talking to men all day because she is. I don't know God in heaven, but I know I know that the creator that created me was a woman, and she got impregnated by another creator that is a man, that she can't get impregnated without my sperm. Even if you don't use a man, you still use the man's sperm. So I'm going to go to the most powerful deity walking on earth, the black woman. Even the European know you don't oppress her if you want to survive. So that's why black women have power. You don't kill them unless you have to. You rape her. You destroy her God mechanism, and you force her to reproduce our lineage. Because in order to be known as a powerful ruler, I have to have a black wife. Ask Muhammad that started the nation, the Muhammad that started Islam. His wife was a black woman, because you can't be a ruler at that time unless she stood next to you. Understand your power. But I understand Candace because she's a woman, so I would respect her to be more mindful, because women do watch her. And I respect her apology and how she's going about it and what she's saying, but she doesn't have to back off. And we need more women like her.
So our body is telling us to compete with other women, to find another man to start a family. Men, on the other hand, can produce as much seed until they're 90, and they are therefore trying to increase their numbers and increase their pack size. So again, biology is what's underpinning a lot of our action. But it's not just that, and I do agree that that is quite legitimate.
I love how she broke it down. See, scientifically, black women, y'all not gonna realize how important the black man is until we got our own land. And then you're gonna realize that our ability to go make all these seeds and bring our children to the place, and we got to work this land. We need children. That's why families, the strong families, your wealth is in your children. If I have 10, 12, 13 children, and then if we all working together, then we will have mansions and millions, and we will grow this land, and we can build, and we can do these things, but at the same time, we are wealthy. It's a deeper part to it, right? Now let's switch for a second. This is not what I'm supposed to be on. If I spell her name. I didn't know she had something to say about Kevin Samuels. I ain't seen it in a minute.
Respect and rebellion against the leadership and the authority of the black man is a direct cause of the breakdown in our black family structure. And of course, there are many black people who consider those fighting words.
Hey, please share this video.
Because as black women, we have never been subject to the kind of examination that our men have been subject to since we have been here. We have been somewhat protected and shielded from any kind of critiquing about our personal behavior, whereas our men have always been up for examination. The book is not an attack on black women. I have never said that all black women do everything that I list in my book. None of us have lived long enough to do everything that I list in the book, but most of us do some of the things that I've listed in my book. And I do say that it is not because of generalizations that we are all victimized by some of the negative patterns of behavior in the book, but the book just represents our collective contribution. This is some of everything that we have done or that we do daily that contributes to the breakup of our relationship, the destruction of our man, and the failure of our children to be able to function. They did not tell us that all of that being my own person and I'm independent would lead to separation, loneliness, celibacy, and lesbianism. They didn't tell us that if you give up the man, you're going to take one of these things and it's worse and it will destroy your nation. They didn't give us that information. They made us think that it was some kind of glorified position to brag about the fact that I got my own job, my own credit card, my own car, so I don't need no man. I don't even know how we got that mixed up. Ain't none of that got nothing to do with having being with no man. We have some serious relationship problems that nobody has been able to address us on because everybody wants to
please
pretend
comments
that
on my
this is not
YouTube
going
followers. Good morning.
Over 60% of our women are single, widowed, separated, or divorced. They don't have a man. I just came out of Florida and they got a housing complex that the urban.
I want to stop it because she made a very good point. She said, she's speaking, and she wrote this book, and she was speaking saying, like, ever since when did women start saying, like, I got my own house, cars, credit cards, I don't need no nigga. But that's not what a man is. A man, ever since when did a man become the objective to your financial success? That's why everything's failing around you. That's why I'm challenging your mind as a black man. The job, the credit card can't give you what a black man can give you. But if you go into the relationship expecting a black man to be all of these financial things, here I go again using my word this morning. That shit's not fair. It's the double standard.
League built, which is a black organization that is for women and children only. They say they don't allow any men in there. I didn't have time to deal with it, but I talked about them real bad. That's the silliest program I've ever heard of. You know the women that had men if they got a bunch of children. They need fathers.
Facts. So let's talk about the welfare system and how they don't let women, they don't want you to be, if you with the father, no, they give you money, they'll give you housing if you're not with the father. And so that's the silliest shit ever created. Because these women got all these kids, so they out here fucking with men. So why would you give them a place only if they're not with men?
They need protection. We hear about the drug problem that we have in our projects across the country. It's one of the major places that we have a drug problem. You know, we talk about the great strength that we have as black women. Well, the welfare department don't rent government apartments to single black men. Those apartments belong to black women who are allowing this to go on in their home.
Fact. But I will be honest, because black women are sneaking men into them houses.
We have not looked at what part of the responsibility do we share. Yes, black men sell a lot of drugs, and a lot of us black women get the money from them drugs and buy some of these fancy clothes we wear. Drive around in some of these fancy cars. He is not doing these things alone and without support from us, whether they are good or bad. See, we have a lot of power. We are very strong women. I'm saying that we're using our strength in the wrong direction. We're using it to tear our man down, tear our nation down instead of building it up.
I always say my analogy for the black woman is Jean Grey from X-Men. Why? Because Jean if you read the comics, Jean kills everybody. Jean is so sweet. She's so sweet. But she turns into, what is that, Phoenix something? But that's when she goes astray, when she loses faith in men. And we know that the X-Men movie is about a couple things. Malcolm X and Martin, Magneto being Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King being Professor Xavier. But it's also showing the dynamics of us.
Having an education and a job does not necessarily mean you have a successful life. I keep telling black women,
or make him a good man.
Raise a child, they say, well, I provided with food, clothing, and shelter. That's not raising a child, that's maintaining one. To raise a child, you need a parental coalition of a man and a woman. We have sons who are, by not having a father in the home, they don't know how to respect women. They take on the black female emotionism. They're doubtful, they're indecisive, they can't make a decision. They don't know what to do about being a man, but we can't teach them that. We don't have that knowledge. We have daughters who grew up in a home where they don't see any affection, where there's no man there. They go out into the world and try to mate. They don't have no idea how to be no woman to no man, how to function in a house with a man, because they haven't seen it. Most of our children, just like us, get all the information we have about how you be with a mate off television. It's the only medium that shows us anybody being together. Those rules have not worked for us. The white woman's liberation movement, we don't have anything to do with that. We have not been under the control of the black man for over 500 years. So what do we have to get liberated from him from?
I want y'all to think about that. The black woman has not been under control of the black man since we were slaves. I mean, since we were conquered and thrown into slavery. Black men are not the ones who control the job market, control the land. And it's not like we are in power. All of us black men are, or we have power and we got land and we got all these things and we're being stingy with it and we won't give it to you. But that's the anger and the aggression that we get from women on a daily basis. And I always tell women all the time, like, listen, y'all have your own problems, and men have to learn how to respect it and learn y'all as well. But women have to understand that y'all have to learn us too. When we go outside, we know the cops want to shoot us down. We know our jobs waiting to fire us. We know that everybody intimidated by us. Look, I'm 6'3", 240 pounds. Even when I'm trying to be humble, motherfuckers walk up to me and be like, bro, all right, damn, you know what I'm saying? So understand that I'm not trying to demasculate you or try to treat you bad, but when I go outside, the world against me. And when I come home, your mindset is just like the enemy outside, because you don't realize that I'm going through the same shit you're going through, just in a man's way. Now, most of us grew up in the households. I live with my father from 11 to 19. So I got the chance. But my foundation was around my mother. So I can see in myself my feminine traits, which are good and bad. So I'm caring because I'm a Pisces, but I'm caring and I understand. Now, my mind is more like in detail, like how a Black woman's mind is in detail. But I'm a man. I just don't mind. I'm comfortable with both sides of me. That's what I mean, the two fish. My yin and my yang, all I have to do is learn and balance. You know, people might not understand that I'm that educator, that person they say, man, bro, very smart, he intelligent, he compassionate at the same time. I'm also that other fish that ain't just gonna let you play around with me either. But I prefer to be my other fish. That's why I tell my friends, like, and shit, they ask me, when you see me today, ask me, what fish am I today? Because that might help you know what to come around me and say today. Because if you come to the studio, we chilling, they be like, bro, and my nigga, what type of fish is you today? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm a goldfish. Oh, all right, they're going to turn up with me. But if you ask me and I tell you I'm a shark, I'm a piranha, I'm a killer whale or some shit, leave me the hell alone today.
They haven't been eyeballs. That's the white woman and her man. They're going through that, and that's their business. We don't have any business being in there. They only introduced it to break down the civil rights movement. Civil rights movement started with the Black man, the Black woman, and the Black child standing together, trying to plead for freedom, justice, and equality.
The Holy Trinity. And this is another point I want to make. I talk to a lot of Black women as Christians, and I say, can I ask you a question? The Holy Trinity in our ancient cultures, which predate all of the religions where they all came from, it say the Holy Trinity was Mother, Father, Son. But when we sit here and women got all this respect for Father God, but according to Father God, it's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? So those are all, I guess, all three men. Where are you in this structure? Why do you have so much faith in something that's not even really speaking to you? The Father and the Son, how do they skip over the mother when the Father and the Son comes from the mother?
And more benefits in the country that they had in their bill. They threw the white woman in there with the women's liberation movement and made it a woman against man thing. That created a big separation between Black men and Black women, because then everybody started going for self. Then they bring the welfare system in and tell us in order to feed and clothe and house our children, we have to give up our man. You have to put the man out of the house. When the white farm wife goes to the government for subsidy for the farm, they don't tell her to get rid of the farm, and they keep that family together. But in the Black community, they make it a requirement, because they want to keep endorsing into the Black community that the Black man is no good, and that he is not deserving of respect, he is not deserving of us letting him give us any protection or instruction, and that we are better than them.
And at the end of the day, it was our job to give you instruction. If, as Black women, y'all got it figured out, then why do y'all pick the wrong men? That's what y'all have been told, that y'all don't, that Black men doesn't have the right to give y'all direction. You're beautiful, you're intelligent, and you are all wise and powerful. But you need direction, because you are more emotionally based in your thinking than you are logical on average. Meaning that as intelligent as you are, if you get in your feelings about some shit could really go left.
The major responsibility that the Black woman has had on the earth for the trillions of years that we have been here has been one of nutrition and birthing children. Those two things have a great...
Yeah, but you know, I hear thousands of women every day online say stuff like, I'm more than having babies or cooking dinner, Or like, why do you rebel against your role? But y'all want us to be the men in those roles, but you don't have to be. You don't have to take no direction, no authority because you're a woman. You shouldn't even be questioned. No, you watched Black women before you overly abused men off of being hurt from other men before them. See, I know Black women, the ones that be causing issues, a lot of time they were great women, but then after they've been hurt or broken, then they shell up. But I always say, Black women, don't you realize the same thing happened to Black men?
Great deal to do with the survival of any people, the reproduction of the nation, and feeding them the proper food so that they can live. Those are very important jobs. Those are very powerful positions because it puts us in a position to decide who's going to live or die. And how.
Think about it. You bring life into the world. That is very important because only you can do it. And only a Black woman produces at the rate she does. No other culture. And then, so you give life, and then feeding is what sustains life. Depending on how you feed, depending on how long a motherfucker, like if you got a wife who she don't want to be with you, she feeds you a bunch of bad shit, he's out of here. He's out of here. She be on her third husband before she's 50.
How slow they gonna die by what we feed them. We have a very powerful position.
Let me go back.
Slow they gonna die by what we do. Those two things have a great deal to do with the survival of any people, the reproduction of the nation, and feeding them the proper food so that they can live. Those are very important jobs. Those are very powerful positions because it puts us in a position to decide who's gonna live or die and how slow they're gonna die by what we feed them. We have a very powerful position. That's not a small role that we play. We have just been taught to misrepresent and misuse that power. The people who we have been counting on to give us the truth about how to get along have failed.
My YouTube people.
White people don't know how to get along. They don't have that information themselves. They don't get along with nobody on earth. So they don't have no information to impart to us about how we're supposed to get along.
Right. So like we going to the court system to fix our problems that will happen. If you study history, you realize that if you study Europe and all the European nations, they never respected their mothers or their sisters. And if there's 13 European nations, they was at war with each other since the beginning of their existence. And they eventually learned to come together just to conquer us because they realized that they could because we wouldn't.
They changed their relationship rules at will. We have, tons of Black children around this country that I hear from who have grown up traumatized by the fact that they were referred to as the outside child. When we were having children like that, they called it illegitimate children until the white woman started having them, and that's single parenting. See, they changed the rules according to what they're doing. So I've called on our people to change them depending on what we want to do, what our needs are. There's another need that has not been addressed in our community, because nobody will deal with it, and that's one that God did not create three sexes. We only have men and women. Now, I have not said that we should reject the sisters who try and act like men and the men who try and act like women. I'm not saying to reject them from among us, but they need to be taught. We don't have to accept that as some kind of normalcy because that's not normal. I'm trying.
I'm gonna go hold y'all all morning, but I'm out of here. BH. And to my YouTube crew, I'm still live for a second. Let me get back. All right, so we still in here. Let me see. Like Netflix movie, he said, you are underlinks in this world. Better male group Caucasian pay your salary. I go for white CEO. It says, then black alpha. See, the thing is, I think that I was showing things this morning and I was trying to say, Khalil, what's up? One of my biggest points is I was saying, I have to keep expressing this black love dynamic in the mindset. And I focus on our women, because that's where the root is. I'm not just saying the root problem, but just the roots. We talking to the black man, he is still a byproduct of the black woman, right? So that's why I tell people the most intellectual conversation in the world is what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? But the reality is the chicken is feminine because it's only female chickens, male hens, and the eggs are all women. So what came first, the woman or the little girl? BH.